a lot of people get nervous because they think that a boundary is telling somebody what they can and cannot do. And that's not what a boundary is. A boundary isn't, hey, you can't do this or you can't do that. A boundary is saying you can do what you want, but if you do, I'm not cool with that. So I'm, walking away or not going to be in the relationship anymore or whatever. That's how you actually set a boundary.
I'm really kind of digging it.
Communicate that through many different avenues. Like, you don't have to say it verbally. It's just in your actions, the way that you act every day. And when you are somebody that doesn't take any shit and people understand that about you, it will show through in your day-to-day actions.
Yeah, I fully get that. Trust me.
I mean, I'm sure you guys have all met somebody you're like, they don't even have to tell you. You just, they walk into the room and you know that you don't mess with them.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how that works. I promise. But there is also the side of it where I don't want somebody to fear me either. So there is a balance. Right. Yeah, there is a balance in this. And I have a very strong personality. Guess what? So that I need to be conscious and aware of that so that my compassion button is on,
Yes. And I'm glad that you said that too, because I think that is important, because sometimes, when I'm, rattling off about boundaries, I think that I almost forget to say, it is important to be friendly and compassionate and, to connect and be warm with somebody. And I do think that there is a balance between being warm and friendly and inviting, but also don't cross me.
There is.
There really is.
There is. And I'm loving it that you mentioned.
I'm thinking of something else too, that this is tying into something we were talking about a moment ago. And I got to bring it back there. The thing that I've noticed most often about conversations about boundaries, in relation to, let's put it that way, in relation to the way people actually put boundaries out there, so to speak, is there's one factor that very often gets overlooked. And I think you guys each kind of touched on it, but I want to bring it out some more. And that is the people who have the most trouble setting boundaries with others on particular topics very often have trouble setting those same boundaries with themselves. In other words, it's the lack of their own boundary within themselves that is really what the problem is. It isn't about the other person having the problem. It's that I want you to not lie to me, but I'm okay with lying to myself. Well, guess what? That doesn't work. I mean, that's basically saying I would have set a boundary, but I'm not really going to.
Well, yeah. I love that. I want to talk. That was great, Walt. But here's one. I love what you were talking about. In fact, someone on Facebook does too, about nonverbal. Nonverbal communication is 90% of how we communicate. And, I think you just probably said the most important thing about boundaries anyone's ever said that I've heard lately. And it's really not about what you're saying. It's about what you're doing. It's those actions. Somebody said intentions of what you're willing and not willing to accept. And I think that is also true. And I love how that you put that. And because our nonverbal cues are they are bigger than anything we can say. Great job with that.
It's definitely true. Definitely.
Yeah, that's great.
Nonverbal is what we get more of, really.
Well, I remember the day when I was with somebody for about 9 years, and it was an abusive relationship that I said yes to. And I was just as abusive back with my mouth, But I remember at some point saying, you're really cool with what you do, and I'm not cool with what you do. So just do what you're going to do. And if it's not working for me, then apparently I'm going to need to do something about that. And then a year later, I focused on myself, and I was in my 30s at this. No, wait, 20s. Oh, no, about 30. And then I worked on myself for a year, lost 150 pounds.
Wow.
Got my shit straight for real, like that. But there was this, and so when you were talking about that, because basically that is what you said. And I'm sat there and I'm like, I remember actually doing that. But man, I'll tell you, it was tough to get to. So it's that recognition, though, that you can recognize in yourself, there's a greater need here than somebody doing what you think that they need to be doing, and really getting into what you choose for yourself. And if they're not doing stuff that doesn't work, well, if it's abusive, I highly encourage to get out. But other than that, yeah, and I've been there too, in that, and there's, but all of that really is important because it's what brought me to where I'm at today. But the boundaries were the biggest thing. I